What's up everybody, it's Hosey, and today we are moseying on over to Rancho Cucamonga / Ontario area, basically to investigate one of the most scandalous and convoluted murders buried within its history. So let's take a look, shall we? So I wanted to do a quick shout out to John D for recommending some content around the Rancho, Upland, Claremont, Ontario area. I read about this story and just couldn't pass it up to share it with you guys, so hope you enjoy. The Rancho Cucamonga area is situated about 41.6 miles east of downtown LA and to this day is a bustling city center. But we're going to go back deep into the history of this area. The first documented expedition was in 1774, led by a Spanish explorer named Juan Bautista de Anza. Following the establishment of the ranch outpost called the San Bernardino de Sina Estancia, located in Redlands, Rancho and Ontario were grouped together with other cities of the modern-day Inland Empire and became known as one massive area called San Antonio. Now, this wide boulevard here that I'm actually walking on top of on this bridge, that's basically going between Rancho and Ontario area, and it's called Foothill Boulevard. Back in the day, it was known as the Santa Fe Trail. Hey guys, so I'm editing the video and there was a quick nuance I wanted to explain regarding the trails. So above me here is the Santa Fe Trail, which started about in Missouri area and then landed in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then from there, you would actually take the old Spanish Trail on into California. So it's somewhat of an extension into California, but technically speaking, it was the old Spanish Trail, not the Santa Fe Trail. And it used to be just this plain dirt path for travelers to follow. Now, when Juan Bautista de Anza and his Spanish soldiers drug their feet into this area, they were greeted in a lush oasis, much like this with sycamore trees, by local Indians. And in fact, a lot of the Spanish soldiers absolutely loved it so much that some of them decided to remain. And one of those Spanish soldiers was Felipe Tapia. Now, Felipe and his family and descendants actually started work on a famous inn, but we'll come back to that. And now it's time to introduce our main character in this story, a Miss Maria Merced Williams. Our Maria was the daughter of Isaac Williams, one of the richest cattle barons in California, and her mother was the daughter of Antonio Lugo, a famous patriarch of California. So she has riches, about 35,000 acres, and status, making her quite the heiress. Now, having been pampered pretty much all of her life and completely unaware of any matters with business, Maria's father dies when she's 17, and now she's left in a fit of complete desperation. And she instantly becomes one of the most pursued after women in the entire state. She'd actually have men show up in her family's hacienda randomly just asking to court her. I mean, you're just hanging out in your family's hacienda and these random ass men are showing up, hey, can I date your daughter? And it's like, I don't know you, go away. Now, Maria makes an amazing decision. She decides to marry the first eligible suitor, a Mr. John Raines, and she marries him the day after her father's funeral, which scandalizes the entire thing. It's like some sort of celebrity scandal at the time. And then, pretty much, John Raines takes over the entire wealth of Maria, and by Mexican law, technically speaking, the deed is supposed to have both of their names on it. However, every time she asked him, hey, is my name on the deed, he would kind of just brush her off and only put his name on it. And John then builds this house in brick, and nowadays you can come here and take a tour of the house. It's a pretty cool museum, so I'm gonna go ahead and check out that tour. It's interesting because even though the deed was technically in John Raines' name, and it's called the John Raines House, it's dedicated to Maria. Pretty cool.
School in Cucamonga, and we have rope beds, straw mattress, and wedding dress up here, school desk.
Oh wow.
This room is a gathering room, and it was used on a daily basis, and everybody was short. And it's a full-length mirror.
That was full length, huh?
Yeah.
Oh wow. And like you said, a door in every room going to the courtyard.
And it was found in 1922 in the chimney by a chimney sweep. So we're not sure what was stuck in a hole in the chimney up in there.
Up in there. So, wow. What was it about? Was it mainly?
She had been on a trip to see an elderly lady south of here that was very ill, and the ranch foreman was shot in the back.
Oh, yes.
It was an unsolved murder too. And when she got back, she wrote a letter to Judge Hayes saying life.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was
You're
fun.
welcome.
Have a wonderful day. So she was telling me, actually, Charlie Chaplin was, I think, married to someone that was related to one of the Rains children. And so Charlie Chaplin would come and visit the Rains house occasionally when he was in the area. So that's pretty cool. All these little details, it's all so interconnected. Anyway, we have more places to see, so probably should get moving here. One morning in November 1862, John Rains wakes up to take a business trip towards LA, but he finds that all of the wheels in his carriages had been smashed in and his pistols are nowhere to be found. But he decides to go to LA anyway on the slow buckboard, carrying with him about modern day worth of $60,000. However, along the trail near modern-day San Dimas, someone had lassoed him, dragged him from his wagon, shot him 4 times, and left his body in a cactus patch. No one knows who did it, and people start to place blame, with one of the prime suspects being Maria. And now we'll head over to that famous inn I mentioned earlier. So about a dozen or so of John Rains' best friends show up here at Uncle Billy's Tavern, which is now known as the Sycamore Inn, right behind me here. Now Uncle Billy, he was in good rapport with John and Maria Rains, so when he hears these 12 men planning to lynch Maria because they thought that she was the murderer, he actually takes a double-barreled shotgun, disarms them, and sends them on their way, saving Maria's life, and she never really knew about it. Back at the rancho, exactly in this parlor, a Robert Carlyle, who married Maria's sister, reams into Maria in order to hand the deed over to him, claiming that she was, quote-unquote, just a woman. Maria actually fought him in court and lost, giving Carlyle control over the rancho. 2 years pass, but then again Maria's name appears in local headlines. Maria comes into town on a wagon with her supposed suitor Ramon riding next to her, when suddenly a gunshot goes off, and Ramon falls from his horse and grabs his back in agony. Maria, stricken with fear and thinking she was next, races to a friend's house for safety. So after the afternoon kind of dies down just a little bit, Maria starts to make her way back towards the Sycamore Inn, and that's where she finds Ramon Carrillo, right here on those steps. He had crawled after being shot and was on these steps and barely alive. And all he says, his very last words, claimed that Robert Carlyle was the one that killed him. This deathbed confession, how important that was, Robert Carlyle never was actually arrested and convicted of that. That struck definitely an uproar amongst the Mexican community for sure. And then later, Ramon Carrillo's brother, Jose, comes out here to investigate the murder of his brother, and in doing so, he meets Maria. And Maria, once again, in a fit of desperation, decides to marry Jose. Now, having married Jose Carrillo, Maria has basically a male with her that can claim her inheritance. So she goes back to the court, and Carlyle's worst nightmare happens. The court rules in her favor after 5 years of fighting, and he loses his power that he had over Rancho Cucamonga. However, Maria couldn't ever pull her beloved rancho out of debt and was forced to sell it in 1870. She later lived out the rest of her years with her family. But the question still remains, who was it that shot John Rains? And who was it that shot Ramon Carrillo? Many believe that it might have been the brother-in-law, Robert Carlyle, since he had the most to gain out of this. And that, my friends, is the murder mystery that still haunts Rancho Cucamonga and Ontario to this day. It still remains unsolved. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I, for one, really enjoyed researching it and telling it to you guys. It was just such a blast. So like if you did enjoy, subscribe down below if you want more content just like this, and feel free to comment of who you actually think killed John Rains, because I want to know what you all think. Anyway, see you guys in the next one. Mary, the first eligible... Cannot talk today. No. Let's restart. Let's restart. Let's restart. What else do I want to say? Dang it. Hosanna.